and welcome to episode 5. Today we're going to be making meatball sandwiches. I like to do a mix of beef and pork. To me, I like the flavor combo of that. And mixing in some, I've got oregano, fresh oregano, some green onion, and some rosemary. A lot of the things I'm going to be using in the meatballs, I'm also going to be using in the sauce. So probably the onion powder, dried oregano, thyme, and Italian, whatever that is. Probably just oregano, thyme, and rosemary probably. No, probably not rosemary. Probably some other things too. Who knows? Smoked ricotta chili, as well as smoked chicken of the woods mushroom, and egg and bread. I'm going to throw the bread in the oven to toast it, so that way I can use it as bread crumbs for in the meatballs. And probably salt and pepper too. And that's about it for that. Oh, and maybe green bell pepper. And for the sauce, it's going to be tomato sauce, a little tomato paste, some fresh tomatoes, both the bell peppers, all the seasonings once again, but probably not, and white onion, and probably some oregano, rosemary, and green onion. And garlic. I'm going to put garlic in both the meatball and the sauce too. Alright, so today I'm going to be telling you a little story about the only time I've ever gotten to ride in a limo. And it's kind of a funny one, I think so. I mean, or else I wouldn't be telling you guys this. Alright, first we're going to be doing the tomato paste, or tomato sauce. Use a whole can of that. Okay, so I'm going to use about half the tomato paste. Alright, so I was living on the East Coast and I was working at this really cool steakhouse. I'm going to put the tomatoes in right now too, because I basically want them to boil down. And eventually I am going to add some water into this as well. And I'm putting the tomatoes in whole because I want them to more or less steam, or stew I guess you'd call it. About half the water in there. I don't know how much water I'll end up eventually adding. I don't want too much because I want it to be a thick sauce. Alright, so I was working at this steakhouse. Awesome place. Place had everything you could think of. Like 40-ounce porterhouse steak. Give the garlic a little palm heel strike. Peel it off. I'm going to give the garlic a real rough cut. And I'm making the sauce first, because I want it to have enough time for the flavors to really kind of just blend together. The meatballs are going to taste delicious on just as they are, but I want the sauce to really have time to just meld. Let's see, now I'll do a little onion powder. Yeah, so while working at the steakhouse, one of the jobs that I had was cleaning. I mean, I was a prep cook, whatnot. So the Italian now, oops. And we'll go thyme. You always got to have thyme. Yeah, so this steakhouse is nice and fun, and do heavy on the oregano. To me, that really kind of, at least in the sauce, it really emphasizes the pasta, the Italian part of it. So, cut the green onion up pretty small, but not too small. Just a good fine dice on it. Yeah, so while working there and cleaning, one of the things that I got to clean, or had to clean, or got to, either or, one of the things that I cleaned was this slicer that they have. And I mean, mind you, I'd worked around slicers. I knew everything about, not everything about them, but I knew enough about them to be safe while cleaning them. I'm going to do the same size chop on the bell pepper, the red bell pepper. So this machine, for whatever reason, they had the on-off switch hardwired into the wall. And so when you literally went to like turn it on, you had to walk over across the room to this switch that was like 10 feet away. And that was the same switch to turn it off too, so it didn't really make much sense to me. But hey, that's how this thing worked. That's how they had it set up. I'm gonna add a little black pepper. And so one night, while cleaning this thing, okay, like I said, like, not only did they have it hardwired into the wall, there's a cover on most slices. There's a metal plate that covers over the blade itself. And it just kind of makes it to where you can't accidentally access the blade from the side, more or less. And once again, for whatever reason, on this particular machine, that plate was not removable. Usually the plate's removable so that you can clean the blade with much easier. Alright, so that was some oregano and some green onion. I'm probably going to add a little more water. I can always just thicken it up and say I want to guarantee those tomatoes really cook down. One of my favorite things when making a good pasta sauce is starting it literally like 2 days before, or a day before you're going to eat it. And let it just slow cook. And like as it reduces, add red wine or whatever you need to kind of like thin it back out to the level you like. But my gosh, there is nothing better than that. Alright, now I'm going to put in some white onion. Yeah, so while working at this place and while cleaning this machine, it's end of the night. It's end of the night. Me and this guy, I think his name is Matt. He was another prep cook. We were basically, I don't want to say the last ones because there was still like one more head cook in there. Hold on, let me just peel this fucking onion. Alright, yeah, so I'm going to do some pretty fine dice for the onion. Yeah, so I'm working, cleaning this machine, and it had, how it was, you kind of had to like, basically stand in this awkward position, and to clean the blade itself, you had to basically like bend your arm in a weird way to reach down into this blade to clean down, deep down in there. Alright, so that's everything in this sauce. I'm going to move it to a back burner here. Turn this one off. Should have started it on there because now I've got a hot thing right here for no reason. Alright, now I'm going to start making the meatballs. First I'm going to do, I've got a 93.7. Not that really matters much. Use about half of this. These little 1 pound bags here. So a little bit. I can, if the ratio's not looking right later, I can always add more. And about, let's say I did about a ½ pound of beef to a little more than 1/3 pound of pork. With our seasonings, throwing the Italian in. Yeah, so this machine was like this. No one really liked cleaning it because it was just like super fucking awkward. We're a steakhouse. It's a meat slicer. It's a main tool. We had to clean it. I mean, you want to clean all of them regardless, but some of them you can be a little lighter on or whatever, like the underside of a table. But so I got the pork, the beef, the seasonings. Kind of waiting on putting the egg in because I'm waiting for the bread to toast up to completion. Alright, so we'll do some onion. We'll do the onion and the bell peppers. Alright, so I'm reaching like super gnarly deep into this machine at this weird angle. For the meatballs, I like to cut everything up as fine as I can, like, not really get it, but because I want the flavors to really be able to just disperse in the meatballs. So yeah, so I'm all leaned in, well, at a weird angle, cleaning this machine. And Jason, maybe his name was Jason. It was either Matt or Jason or whatever. I don't know. We'll call him either of those names, but I'm still referring to a singular person. And Jason, or Matt, he comes in. He's just chatting with me. We're just talking, and as we're sitting there talking, I don't know. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but we're just sitting there just talking, and he's leaning against this wall. He's standing in this doorway, and I'm not paying any attention to it and whatnot. And as we're just chatting away, and I've got my hand literally wrapped around the blade. I've got my fingers behind the back of it, and my thumb on the other side. I'm holding it basically like one would hold like a record or something like that, or a frisbee, I guess. But let me chop this up a little more. And as we're just sitting there just talking away, without really meaning to, without really thinking anything about it, Matt Jason just hits the on switch. Like, it's just right inside the doorway, and he's just fidgeting. We're just talking. He's just sitting there just like fidgeting against the wall. And there's this row of light switches right next to him, and the majority of those switches didn't really affect us because they were all like, because it looked like a normal light switch. All of them, I mean, they were normal light switches, and the majority of them all went to like one went to the exterior, like to the patio area. One went to a closet or some shit like that. I don't know. But regardless of where those ones went, one went to the meat slicer. The meat slicer that I'm now basically holding Tron style across the blade, and just in a split second, I mean, as fast as electricity can travel from that light switch getting connected to me, that blade spun. And it caught my thumb. I had time to pull my hand out. I mean, because these fingers were behind the disc, behind the blade, and the blade's a big flat disc. I had time to pull those fingers straight out, but as I was doing that, my thumb, which was on this side of the blade's in my hand right here. As I'm pulling it out, the blade caught my thumb right there. It basically caught the bone. Yeah, let me check this bread. Almost on the bread, almost. So here's what we got right now. It's looking pretty Italian already. We got our red, white, and green. I like to make my own pasta sauce because it's actually like really cheap and really easy. All right, oh, so we don't have green bell pepper in there. Okay, I know a lot of people take this part out. I leave it in. There's almost no flavor into it. So, and I don't mind the seeds. I actually like the seeds. Yeah, so this blade turns on and just catches my thumb. I mean, I don't know how. I can't explain any of that. But it catches my thumb, and basically, as the blade goes down, there's a small little trough, a tiny little like trough underneath it, to let like blood drippings and stuff go through, or juice drippings go through. And my thumb basically gets wedged into there. I mean, this is all happening within like probably less than 2 seconds. That as my thumb gets wedged in there, I think I'm gonna need to add more beef into this. Alright, so the egg is now in. So that's everything in except for the bread right now. Oh, I forgot the chili. Yeah, so my thumb is wedged in this little trough blade thing. But what's interesting, or however, I don't know even how this physically fucking worked. These fingers were like in this open space over here, so it was fine, but it was just this thumb with the blade pulling it in. And the blade wasn't actually like wedged in the bone. It was, I don't know how fucking anatomy stuff like that works, but it was caught up in whatever connective tissue is in between the bone and muscle or whatever. I don't fucking know. I didn't take things apart to look at them at that moment. And that bread is almost ready. Say if it's not ready, I'm going to start mixing it, and then I'll start adding some more meat if I need to. A couple more minutes on that. Alright, so I'm going to start mixing this. Everyone has their own little method. I like this little squishy method. Yeah, so Matt Jason just fucking, he's shocked. He's like, what the, like, he doesn't even know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. It's all instantaneous at that moment. And fucking, I might need to add more than one slice of bread. I think meat-wise, though, we're perfect. You want it, like, you want it compactable. Like if you ever have a snowball fight with meat. So, which would be really weird. And it wouldn't be called a snowball fight. I don't think. Alright, let me wash my hand. And I also forgot. I don't like this over there because I don't want it to start cooking. I just took this pan out of the oven, so it was pretty dang hot. See, now this method that we're doing right here, this can be the exact same thing, but at this point, instead of making meatballs, just throw the meat right in and you got yourself a base for a meat sauce, and that'll cook in there and it'll be fucking awesome. Alright. Whew, I wish you guys could smell this. This is the smoked chicken of the woods mushroom. It's the only mushroom that I've ever been comfortable enough to scavenge. But I don't know, it's fucking awesome. Alright, so I'm going to dice this up. Yeah, so Jason Matt just like, he I want to say instantly, but as fast as he probably really humanly could, he flipped the switch back down to shut everything off. It took him that split second to figure out what was going on. But he worked in that kitchen with me. He knew that machine was hardwired into the wall. But I'm sure he was in the same category as me, as that's the only time I've ever seen that in any restaurant. And in my opinion, it was a really, really faulty thing. I want this mushroom to be as fine as possible. I should run it through a grinder and just make like a powder out of it, basically. Because the flavor is insane. The flavor is delicious. This thing carried the mushroom itself actually tastes like chicken, which is why it's called chicken of the woods. And that chicken flavor combined with it smoking, it literally tastes like cooked food, like cooked meat on the barbecue, like cooked chicken on the barbecue. So I use it to add a smoky flavor to things, which are, it carries over great. And damn it, I forgot the garlic as well. Alright, another PHS. Yeah, and so Jason Matt, he flicks that switch as fast as his brain is even allowing him to do it. And the machine shuts off. But in that moment of moments when it was on, the machine and me melded, we'll just say, but it won. And when it had slit my thumb, how the rotation of the blade goes, it sprayed my blood in a perfect like line pattern. When my blood came out of the machine, it didn't like, I guess, I don't know, because maybe it was because it was cutting something that was pumping blood instead of something that was like dripping blood, if that makes sense. Like normal meat didn't do this, but like I was on extra rare, I am, whatever you want to fucking call it. Alright, see now these tomatoes are stewed enough that where I'm basically popping them. And the reason I like putting like fresh tomatoes mixed in with this is that to me it actually gives like a little bit of different flavor, because you get the seeds and the skin, but you're not getting it like in a pureed canned form. It's like a small amount of basically just a little bit better. And hey, you know what? If you can make it a little bit better, make it a little bit better. See, another good thing with making a pasta sauce like this, basically from scratch, is that I don't have to use all of it, of course. So I can use what I want for the meatball sandwich. And then the rest of it, well, you can either like thin it down and make add some basil to it, and you got a tomato basil soup that's gonna be fucking awesome. Or cook it down more and you basically have a tomato sauce, like a condensed tomato sauce for being saved. All right, let me check that bread. Wow, this is fucking hot. Ooh. Alright, I'm going to let this cool just a little bit so it doesn't actually cook the egg and the meat while I'm adding it in there. Man, this is looking killer. Smells great. Alright, so Jason Matt has flipped the switch. I wonder if I can... my thumb's in this thing, he's cut it down, whatnot. Alright, this is cooled down enough, so I should probably run this through the little food processor thing I have, but just being lazy right now. And I don't really mind this like having some big chunks, because as they like basically pull in the moisture like they're gonna do, they're gonna soften up. So, but, yeah. So my thumb's caught in this machine, fucking this blood spray that's coming out of it, or came out of it, because the blade doesn't like just stop. There's no brakes on a meat slicer. So they're just on off. And that's why it was so weird that this thing was like hardwired into the wall. Because that'd be basically the same exact thing that if you had to somehow get to your trunk to apply your brakes in your car. Because this was like, it's a meat slicer. One of the things about a lot of them, they even have like an emergency switch. It's like right there that it's just a toggle that's real simple. Like it just has to be touched and it'll shut off. Alright, see, I'm going to start mixing this. Yeah, so this blood spray comes in this like rooster tail across the room. And just, man, oh man, this thing is like, it's covered the wall, even though it's just along my thumb right there. Maybe there's an artery of some sort, I don't know. But, you know what, I'm going to hold off on putting these in there for now. I'm just going to build them up off to the side here. If I put them in now as the pan's kind of coming up, then all the fats and stuff will heat up as the pan heats up, and the meatballs will actually like melt. And so you don't want that. You want them like really, really good meatballs. At least I like refrigerate or whatever for a while, so it just kind of stiffens everything up. I'm kind of going to depend on heat with this, or I'm just going to sear it at a higher temperature. Because I'm not going to actually finish the meatballs off in the pan in this particular pan. At one point I'm going to swap them over to that pan, which has been in the oven. Thing's really fucking hot. I'm going to swap them over to that pan, cover them in the sauce, and then put them in the oven at probably 200 degrees, covered in, I'm thinking Parmesan. And then, yeah, you'll see the whole process. It's going to be delicious. Alright, so Jason, Matt, Mike, dude, this fucking, he's standing there like, holy shit. I yanked my hand, or eased my hand, pulled my hand out of this fucking meat slicer. Yeah, so I'm covered in blood. It was kind of a weird, like, anime moment, I guess you'd say, because it was literally like Ninja Strike, straight slice of just a splatter of blood. Yeah, so I've got this like left side spray line of blood up and down me, and I'm kind of in shock. Like the pain hadn't even really set in yet. And Jason, Matt, Mike, Jeff is like, holy shit. And because I didn't even really notice, because I was pretty much in shock at the moment, that the bloodline not only went straight up me, but it basically encased in a perfectly like zapped line around the room, like in a like minusing me out, but it followed on the wall behind me, went up that wall, across the ceiling, and down the other wall, in like a perfectly like weird stripe around the room. And so at that moment, basically fucking, like, I yoink my hand out, I'm standing there, I'm fucking, I don't even know what to do. Like, it's just gushing. It's literally like, it's not like I've been cut, and it's not like bleeding, it's gushing. It's literally fucking just pumping everywhere. And this place, I mean, like, I knew it was fancy. I'd only eaten there, even though I worked there, I'd only eaten there a couple of times, but seeing the cuts that we use, seeing stuff like that, we were above and beyond everyone around us, so I knew we were fancy. But standing there in this fucking kitchen, like, not even like a spray stripe, but like a fucking drench line, like someone hit me with like a super soaker of blood, and just this straight up line, like on my pants, to my shirt, up my chest, across my face, and just fucking, oh, it was gnarly. I'm going to add a little bit of oil. I should have added the oil way earlier, but I mean, I can see it's greasy enough, but I want stuff to really like get a nice crisp on it. And even though I'm using a fattier beef, well, no, actually a pretty lean beef, but with pork, pork really isn't that fatty. A lot of people don't understand it. This being sausage meat, it might be fattier. It probably is fattier. Alright, the sauce has just been stewing along. It's doing great. Alright, yeah, I got tongs ready. Alright. So I'm literally drenched in blood. Matt, Mike, Jeff, Jose is like standing there like, what the fuck? The room is covered, but in this crazy stripe. And I'm right, by then I'm holding my hand, and it's like I've got my hand wrapped up, but it's just gushing down. And so, and neither of us at that point really even knew how bad anything was. The head chef at that point had either heard the commotion, I don't know, I probably screamed, I probably fucking screamed beyond, like, I mean, I don't know, or I just stood there silent because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I really don't remember the moment. But either or Carmichael yelled something, I don't know, but either or, fucking head chef comes running in, and he's just like, what the fuck? And immediately, and this threw me off. This was probably one of the, I mean, like I've stated from the beginning, kitchens are funny, and I didn't even know that this was like a thing. The dude yells, the head chef, like, his first thing was upon walking in the room and seeing me like drenched in blood, seeing me basically like I don't know, just standing there basically like, oh shit. And he didn't yell like, call 911. He didn't yell like, get a towel, get the Band-Aids, fucking get the glue gun. Dude didn't yell any of that shit. He yelled, get the limo. And that was like, I remember it because it was like, what? Like the limo? I'd been working at this place for like 6 months, and we had a fucking limo? Like this was like, that was news to me that the restaurant itself had a limo, which was really odd. Like what? Like, I don't know, I mean, whatever, but, and say, which like, totally threw me off, because did that mean we had a limo driver? Did we have like a garage where this limo was parked? I literally skateboarded to work, so I never like really saw like, besides the entrance and exit of like of the staff stuff, I never really paid attention to the parking lot, like who was parked where. But at the same time, we got a fucking limo. So like I'm like intrigued, but at the same time like losing blood. I'm gonna cook them just a little bit more. I'm gonna turn the heat down low on them because I got a good sear on this side. The cast iron pan is gonna hold that heat, and it's gonna sear the other side even though I'm turning it down. I don't want to cook them fully. My ultimate goal is to basically merge the flavors from this pan to this pan and back and forth, but in a slow cook. Like I've got the oven at 300, but I'm gonna actually turn it down to like 200, and then we'll just let everything just have a nice slow cook. But right before it's finished, I'm gonna throw the broiler on and put it in the broiler, and oh man, this is gonna be fucking awesome. You know, I'm gonna make the whole pan of them, but I'm gonna just fit all these in here. This is real tomato sauce right here. Yeah, probably. I always wear the wrong color clothing. Alright, I'm going to cook this at a really low temperature. The meatballs are basically, since they're seared, they're going to hold shape. And I want the sauce to actually like absorb into them and stuff like that. And alright, so this fucking limo comes around the corner, and this fucking limo driver wearing the cap and everything. I mean, apparently, this guy's like, apparently I work for the same company with this dude. I didn't even know he fucking existed. It was like that, who is it, the Phantom? That fucking had the limo driver, like, sidekick. It wasn't fucking Green Lantern. But I don't know. It was one of those fucking things. I don't really, like, I love cartoons and shit like that, but well, they're graphic novels. No, they're fucking cartoons. It's not fucking real life, so if it's animated, it's a fucking cartoon. But it's still a damn good cartoon. Alright, I'm going to throw this in the oven for now. It's the oven's at 200. And the reason being why I'm doing it so low is I really want the like moisture from the tomato sauce to go into the meatballs. I want the crunchiness of the meatballs to just like, it's going to hold shape, but oh man. I just really want a damn good sandwich. Alright, yeah, so this like limo driver dude pulls up around the back of the restaurant, like outside of the employee entrance. And I go out there, I'm like kind of ushered out there, and oh man, this is looking really good. You know, I'm gonna add a little more cheese. I want this gooier. I'm gonna figure out a different type of cheese that I got. Alright, I got some provolone going here. So this limo dude comes out and he's like, alright, come with me. And it was like special operations shit. So I get let out to the limo. The dude's basically like, get in the back, like, get in the front seat. And dude starts just fucking gunning it through town. Like, I don't know what sort of special operations this motherfucker like did on the side, but dude is straight fucking like Hollywood style gunning it through town, and it was fucking pretty comical. And we pull up to this hospital, and the dude pulls like straight into the emergency room, like he'd done this 100 times before, and it's like, oh shit, okay. And I get out and fucking, it's funny, well, I was kind of cracking up because as we're pulling up, like it's a limo speeding into a hospital, speeding into the emergency room. So you got, of course, everyone like who is there, who's well hurt and not hurt, is basically staring like, what the fuck's going on? And I kind of had to laugh because instead of out of the back door, out of the fucking driver passenger seat, a fucking dude in a cook's coat hops out, like celebrity chef style, whatever. I don't fucking know. I had to laugh about it just because it was fucking my first time in a fucking limo, and I'm being driven to the fucking hospital. All right, that's not too pretty, but hey, you know what? When it melts, it's gonna be fucking awesome. All right, got that in the oven right now. I'm gonna turn it up. It's on 200. I'm gonna turn it up to 300. We'll go 325. Look at that. All right. You know what? So just cut this green onion. I was gonna put it on as a garnish, but I'm gonna put it on right now. There's no harm in putting it on right now. Yeah, so we pull up to this hospital and fucking I'm stepping out and everyone's looking like, who's this? Who's this in this limo? But I get out of the passenger door. Oh man, this is gonna be so good. Alright, yeah, so it's kind of funny because like, so I'm jumping out and fucking, I'm just drenched in fucking blood. And I run in there and the fucking doctors and everyone, like the nurses, whoever's at the counter, because I showed up in a fucking limo, they all fucking like, sir, what's the problem? What's the problem? And they just jumped on my fucking knees. It was crazy. And they took me into the back and like started like, I mean, I'm still holding my thumb, I'm still dumping fucking blood. Here we go. Alright, this is the pan from the meatballs. So I'm just going to throw these buns in here. Give them a little extra flavor. Why not? Yeah, so I go into the hospital and I'm getting like great fucking treatment. And it was fucking crazy, and it was funny because then when it came to like, as they're doing all the fucking washing shit off and stitching shit up, and they're handing you fucking clipboards with shit. And they're like, well, who's your insurance provider? Yeah, I don't fucking know. It's like, dude, I'm a cook at a fucking place. And that same fucking limo driver, dude, that guy must make fucking bank, or he just must fucking love his job. Because that dude was like a fucking ninja. He was like out of the blue, out of nowhere. It was like he stepped in, it's like, I'll handle this. And they just took everything off to the side. Alright. Just pulled this out of the oven. I'm about to put it in the broiler, and it's going to be really quick in the broiler, maybe 5 minutes, if even that. So I'm going to turn both of these off. No, I'm going to turn the sauce off, leave this on. Alright, I just placed that in the broiler. I'm going to turn it off in a little bit. I'm not going to leave it on there or in there. I mean, because it's like, I'm going to turn it off right now actually. But I'm going to leave it in there. I'm going to leave it in there for probably about a minute and a half. And then I'm going to open it up and then just let it slowly cool down before I actually try to plate anything. So yeah, it was pretty funny. So there I am fucking getting my thumb all stitched up or whatever, and then fucking I got to ride in a limo. Alright, I'm gonna keep toasting this just for a little bit more. Let that cool down for a second and we'll be right back. Oh. Is that not beautiful? Alright. So that's just going to sit there and kind of cool for a little bit. I just want that cold enough or cool enough that when I scoop into the sandwiches, see, now I don't even have to add cheese or anything to it. So this thing is ready to go. Yeah, so that was the first time I got to ride in a limousine. Only time I've ever gotten to ride in a limousine. And it was pretty fucking cool. I really couldn't tell you anything about it. Except for don't cut your thumb in order to do it. Ooh. Ooh. Oh man. Yeah, so ooh, there we go. See, I don't want to pick this up because there's so much like juice that is now formed. That this is just a big slop fest. This is Gut Fest 89 right here. Oh man. All right, hey, I'm gonna keep just making this up, and I'll make it a little prettier and kind of finish the video up. All right, so this is about as pretty as a sandwich like this gets. I mean, I could throw some cheese on and melt it on, whatnot, but I'm completely happy with what I've got here. Even though I know it looks like a mess, it's gonna be a mess to eat. So I'm really not gonna fight that. I'm using some carrot top for a parsley-like garnish. See, look now how pretty it looks. Don't hate. Garnish. So hey, thanks everybody for being here. I mean, I know this isn't the prettiest of meals, but you know it's going to be fucking delicious. Like, you just know that. And I've got plenty of, like, a beautiful little bit of extra over here. And you know that once this cools down, this is going to be just the bombest of bomb things to ever be bombed. Yeah. Alright. Hey, I guess see you next time. Thank you very much for watching and supporting if you do support. Alright, cool.